Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, welcome to our last class in this month of February so that we get into the month of March. I request the class president Edwin to continue the meeting. Those who have not joined, I've already given you the rights. And now I quickly move on to summarize what we covered last time so that I actually move to number 2 in our course outline. Last week, I had spent the last minutes of the lecture talking about the developmental history of operations management or the historical developments in operations management. Specifically, I covered several eras which then show us how this particular discipline has grown right from the Industrial Revolution era to what we call the scientific management era, then human relations era, management science era, quality revolution, and globalization information age, and we are now talking about the talent age. So if I quickly summarize that in one slide, starting from yesteryears, that is from 1990s onwards, and just ignoring what happened many years ago, I would say from 1990s, the history of operations management in terms of development has focused on time-based competition. So during this particular time, organizations were keen to locate near markets so that they can actually deliver quickly to their customers. Additionally, organizations also embraced technology to be able to compete quickly. So time-based competition has been about being able to deliver faster than your competitors so that you can actually gain a competitive edge. Also, in the 1990s...
Sorry for interruption. You haven't given me the rights. I think you gave Elizabeth.
No, I gave Andrew. Are you sure?
Yes.
Yes, it's me.
Okay, other than changing, then Elizabeth, you can continue just doing it so that you also get used in case the class president is not there, then this knowledge is common to a number of us. Okay, so 1990s supply chain. Okay, supply chain management. Supply chain management because organizations decided or discovered that it was not easy to serve customers alone, meaning you manufacture and then you distribute, you transport, and you finally deliver to retailers or to your final customer. It was not easy for one organization to do all that. So it was important to diversify risks and also use other organizations to be able to supply what you are not able to supply in terms of either capacity, in terms of skill set, etc., etc. The birth of supply chain management came into to make organizations realize that when you let somebody else distribute your products, this particular entity is not owned by you. When you let another entity transport your products, that particular transporter is not a company owned by you. So you need to have a way of managing all the intermediaries in the chain up to the final customer. And that is why it was then important to understand the concept of supply chain management. We call it managing a meta organization. Intermediaries who you don't own, but you control in a way because they handle your product up to the final customer. And today, supply chain management is actually moving the world. You all remember what people used to say from 2020, supply chain resilience. Our organization, our country did not diversify risks of sourcing. And so because we concentrated on only sourcing from either China and we did not have local suppliers developed, and China is not supplying because of COVID-19, we are going to close our economy. You remember all that because 2020, a number of you were quite of age, and you could actually understand what is happening in the business front. So operations management embraced the concept of supply chain management in its development. 2000 onwards, internet revolution had taken over the world, and so the business of emails, internet-based systems were actually now at the inception of it. And so organizations like Amazon, Yahoo and others, and Google started operations. And organizations discovered that it was now easy to reach markets away from the home market using the internet, or what we call electronic commerce. So you can now get into the internet, get into Amazon, get into Alibaba, get into in Kenya we have this company in Kenya. What we call it? We have quite a number of companies in Kenya, but the common one you call it Jumia, and so you can actually shop. And I was reading an article I think yesterday that the former CEO of Taskis, together with also some colleagues, also developed an online commerce platform, and they're also being able to deliver to your homes, to your offices from the comfort of their warehouse. So in terms of doing business, then organizations discovered that use of electronic commerce in managing operations was actually critical. As you move on, you are going to realize this. E-commerce is definitely killing intermediaries. So if I want a book, for example, I only need to get it straight from Amazon. But what is Amazon doing? Amazon is just having the books from the publisher and then creating feasibility from the reader, who could be me and you. And once we place an order, then Amazon uses delivery channels to actually deliver the book to us. So these middlemen of book distributors, book resellers who are making some margin are also not there. So the business world is going to become flat in terms of the way chains are being managed. They are going to be shorter. The prices are going to be better as companies compete. So that is the way we are actually moving worldwide. Then also in 2000, then the concept of offshoring, outsourcing, and flattening of the world came in. What is offshoring? Offshoring is actually taking manufacturing away from your home country to a foreign country. We are saying in the development of operations management, organizations discovered that there was more value added in producing in far countries other than the home country. So you produce in America, which is not possible for a Kenyan farm. So let's put it the way it is. You produce in China or you produce in India, but you are a Kenyan farm. Then you transport and you sell to your market in Kenya. That way it is cheaper for us, because when you do contract manufacturing away from your country, either you are having a number of advantages, namely, you may be taking advantage of special technologies which are not available in your home market. But two, energy could actually be cheaper in those foreign markets than your home country. Countries like China, Taiwan, Korea, etc., these countries use nuclear power, which is cheap, more stable for production. Beyond that, it could actually be cheaper for other companies based in other countries to produce for you because of either labor advantages or tax advantages, name it. And because organizations realized those kinds of advantages, then manufacturers or company or individuals running operations then had to use that approach to produce and deliver to the home markets. On the other hand, what we call outsourcing is actually having another firm create capacity to serve your company when this particular company, which is being served, doesn't have the capacity. I'm saying you need to differentiate between outsourcing and subcontracting. Subcontracting, you have the capacity a bit. It may not be sufficient. In outsourcing, you will not have that specific capacity. That particular capacity will be with a third party, and you pay the third party to actually produce and deliver to you. Now, the distinction between offshoring and outsourcing is that outsourcing can actually be done to a company within your country. So that I outsource to either Mborole Logistics or any other like maybe Acela Logistics or SDV Transami, name them, to transport for me. This particular company may actually be within Kenya. Or I outsource to maybe Simba Cement or Baburi Cement to make clinker for me, and I'm a cement producer. And me, I don't have capacity to make clinker at all. These companies are based in Kenya, so they make clinker for me. I get the clinker, then I move my production to the next step where I put in Bozolana, gypsum, etc. I grind, I mix, I make my cement, I sell, and additionally, the company you are outsourcing to can also be away from your home country. It can be in Taiwan, it can be in India, so the difference between offshoring and outsourcing is that outsourcing, some of the capacity you can do it within your country or outside your country. That happened from the year 2000, a key development issues in the history of operations management. Now, we are actually talking about talent age. We are saying anybody who is going to run operations successfully, who is going to be number one there, either could be in the media industry, could be in telecommunications industry, could be in cement manufacturing. It's going to be because of the talent you have. Why? Because talent helps you come up with unique products and the services, because everybody is special. Look at what KQ, and I want you to be very keen on the things I'll keep on sharing as we continue doing this particular class. I want you to read the website of KQ, Kenya Airways, and find out what Kenya Airways is actually doing. The MD of Kenya Airways, Alan Kilafuka, is actually my classmate. We graduated at the same time in 1995 at Kabete. So we were in the same class. KQ, by 2025, is actually introducing what they are calling flying taxis. And what is meant by this is that you have a vehicle which is able to fly, because that has been manufactured. So you are at University of Nairobi, you get your taxi there. When you get your taxi there, it's a flying taxi. It flies up vertically, it folds the wings, and flies up. It not folds. It throws out the wings, then flies up vertically at Graduation Court, vertically up, and then takes you to either Kitengela or Thika, and then it drops down vertically to where you are, where it can land, and the business ends there. If the driver wants to travel on road to pick another customer, it will travel on road maybe 100 or 200 meters, pick that particular customer. If that particular customer wants to be flown to State House, it will fly again up all the way, instead of trying to beat traffic jam, all the way to State House, then descend, and you'll be able to alight. Now, I'm saying, for you to be able to make, I mentioned a number of things. For you to be able to make a flying taxi, you need special talent. And that is what is going to make you number one. For you to be able to make the best electric car, because Tesla and other motor makers are now number one in making cars which are using renewable energy, which are not using petroleum at all, diesel or petrol. You need special talent. For you to make the best cement, you need special talent. For you to make the best banking product, you need special talent. For you to make the best curriculum, whether you are University of Nairobi, Harvard University, you need best talent. I don't know whether you have looked at what is happening in town. There is this particular restaurant which is taking town by storm, and then I wish we could meet in Kabete, not Kabete, Chiromo, and probably one of these days agree to take a cup of tea and move around town a little bit. Me, I like moving, and when I'm moving around town, I need to check on these recent developments. Now, you are realizing that a restaurant by the name, a chain by the name Pronto Restaurant is taking the city by storm. And somebody was telling me that they are very good at making the recipes of their meals, etc. So when you take anything there, it's especially delicious. It's such nice. I'm not trying to market them, and if in any way you are associated with them, tell them they can also talk to us, because we can do also promotion and marketing directly depending on our agreement with our clients. And so I'm saying, to have most delicious food, you need special talent. To have the school which is preferred by everybody, people will be saying, I wish my son or my daughter schools in this particular school. You need special talent to handle pupils, to handle either high school graduates in colleges, so that you have the highest number of students or pupils or students, whatever. And I'm sure that is true. So now we are talking about talent age. And so this was being seen more in what I may call the social world, where we were being entertained by footballers, the likes of Zidane, Ronaldo, and the other new ones. You know them better because you watch football more than me. Now, I don't watch football a lot myself, so I've forgotten. Even when I get the name of, I don't know whether it is Mohamed or there is this one of Egypt who came up recently and was scoring a lot. So then at the leads, you can look at Eliud Kipchoge and others. So we were seeing talent quite a lot in sports. But now we are saying also, for you to run operations well, processes to be designed well, to be engineered well, you need talent. And I believe that has sung well. I'm explaining it in that way because sometimes the questions I set, they leave you wonder what you need to write. And sometimes I want to be broad as possible. And I can just set a question like, discuss how Kenya can probably grow the operations of manufacturing organizations, guided by the following key terms: talent, electronic commerce, time-based competition, etc., 25 marks. So it's up to you now to configure your answering and be able to convince that you can actually get the 25 marks. That said, I can now move to my number 2. And my number 2 now, which is what I'm going to spend most of the lecture today, is about the concept of value addition. Now, before I start number 2, I want to ask a simple question. And I want to let just 2 people answer this. Just 2 people answer this. If today I taught you this particular lecture, and it is the last lecture I will teach you, possibly because the university has allocated me another course and it has allocated this course to another instructor, or I've been given another appointment by the government and therefore I cannot have time to teach, etc. And this becomes my lecture, my last lecture. What is this which you'll have picked from the lectures I've done, which you now move you to the next level, either in academics, in your social life, in your career, What is this? You say there is this lecturer. I didn't get to see him, but he did some 3. I think this is our 3rd lecture. Yeah, our 3rd lecture. He did 3 lectures. I never got to see this man, but this is what I picked from him, and it has propelled me this far in life. And you'll be able to say that 15 years, 20 years to come. Two people. Who goes first? Are you able to see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, so who goes first? Just wait. I'm just waiting for somebody to answer. Nobody has an answer. Okay, Mose. Wilfred.
Yes, I will say that Prof. Muller was accommodative in that you accepted our request on taking this unit online, despite the fact that it is one of the core units. Because majority of us are working, we can't access Chiromo in time. So from me, I would say Prof was accommodating.
But Wilfred, personally, maybe I need to make it clear so that you understand what I'm saying. I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about what is this you are picked to propel you either in your career, in your social life, in your educational studies, and you'll be saying 15, 20 years down the line, this thing, I picked it in 3 lectures I did with a lecturer in one of the universities I studied. And it has helped me achieve 1, 2, 3.
I would say that, I would say again, on the social aspect that you are accommodating. The reason why I'm saying this is because from my work environment perspective, I'm a police officer by profession.
Okay.
And I faced challenges that I will not speak in public for fear of intimidation or.
Okay.
Very few people, very few in this life are accommodative, especially socially.
Okay.
So to me, you are very accommodative.
Okay, thank you, Wilfred. So Wilfred, I think for the benefit of the others, Wilfred is saying value added, that he picked that being accommodative in life is very important, and it helps some people a lot, because some people want to actually deal with either service providers or clients who can actually be accommodative. And accommodative actually speaks to the aspect of flexibility. You assess a situation and then you don't have a fixed mind. You judge, and when you judge, you make a decision. And you are only not tuned to one way of doing things. So that is probably something Wilfred has picked, and which is probably going to help him when he's discharging his duties to the nation and to some of you and me. Thank you, Wilfred, for that. Somebody else, just to share what you have also picked. Okay, for the interest of time, I know we'll open up. Yeah, Samuel. Sorry, Samuel.
Well, thank you. Now, I think basically the introduction to operations. has given some of us a better understanding of what operation is all about. It makes it very interesting and actually draws interest towards that line of specialization in our careers. Become, in my opinion, many have considered it to be an accounting thing. But now, with the way you taking us through the lectures, I think it's drawing an interest to it, and I think the lessons are the way you are delivering makes it very positive, makes it us to draw that interest towards it. I think that's what I have.
Okay, thank you, Samuel. Samuel is saying, if I put it in a very simple sentence, I never thought of specializing in operations management, but out of the 3 lectures, I'm considering maybe in my future career, I may build a career in operations, courtesy of the 3 lectures we have done. I think that is how I would actually summarize what Samuel is doing. Thank you, Samuel, for that. There is a lady called Grace. I think Grace wanted to say something. Grace, are you there?
Yes, Professor. Yes, Mwalimu. Good evening to everyone. And in a nutshell, for me, I'll say that I'll echo what Samuel has said. I didn't know whether I'll draw some interest in operations management. I am in a banking sector, and I thought finance will do me good. And funny enough, I've already resolved to specialize in operations management. I'll say that since you started your lectures, you've been you've been giving us that insight. For instance, we started with the operations being let's say people, value, and processes and technology centered. So far so good. We are not there's no lapse. I'll say that there is no lapse in your lectures.
Thank you, Grace. Grace also is saying the same as Samuel, that he never thought that she can actually specialize in operations management. But out of what we have discussed so far, she's also considering. Thanks, Wilfred, for breaking the ice, and thanks all of you for also sharing what you have shared. And Wilfred and Grace for also sharing what you do. By the way, one thing I like about evening classes, and also the so-called Module 2 classes, is actually the experiences we bring from what we do on a day-to-day basis, because that actually facilitates learning. So, Samuel, I know you were mean a little bit in terms of sharing and in terms of sharing what you do and others, but when we are discussing, it's always important also to relate what we are doing with what you do. And if an opportunity is there also to discuss with the class, it will be important for them also to know how the concept maybe applies. For example, when it comes to the banking sector or when it comes to law enforcement for Wilfred. And that is our line, because what we are doing is actually we are doing this for the benefit of the outside world where we'll be working, and relating the two is actually fundamental. So what I'll be doing as we move on, I'll be creating some breakout sessions where you can chip in a bit and also contribute so that the classes are interesting. And I urge you to actually come out and be able to share your experiences. Allow me then to go to the next, number 2. Thank you for your compliments also. So allow me to go to the number 2. Okay. So in my number 2, then I have the concept of value addition. I want you to pick from what the three discussants in our class have actually shared. Don't forget that, okay? right from Wilfred talking about being accommodative, being flexible is actually key when you are dealing with clients, when you're also doing whatever you are doing. And then Samuel and Grace are actually, you can choose operations management as a field of study. And this is value which they have actually picked from the 3 lectures. So I want to say this quickly. When we talk about operations management, we simply talk about a value-adding process. So what I was trying to do is actually to measure whether this lecturing process of the university is actually adding any value to you beyond just an exam which you'll set and you'll pass and you get your certificate. What is this other value we have added in your life beyond giving you a certificate which either can propel you in terms of promotion or can actually make you get another job or a new job if you are not employed? So when we are running operations, we always get input. And this input goes through the transformation process. And when it is in the transformation process, I've given you 5 P's there in that particular slide, which are used to transform the input. We are people, we are plants, we are parts, we are processes, we are planning and control. And when then people interact with the input, then they do value add. They change the input to be able to be an output which can actually be of better use than the input. I don't think I can explain this better than giving you 2 examples. So I said last time that it's always important to have a notebook. So this particular one slide, I want to use 2 examples. And when I'm done with the 2 examples, I'm sure you'll have understood number 2. Then I'll summarize topic number 2. So I want to start with a symbol system or a symbol operations process, what we call healthcare. Or simply put, when you go to an hospital runs operations. They'll book you as a new patient, give you a number, a card, or open a file. Then, depending on what you are suffering from, you see a doctor, and a doctor will prescribe medicine or probably a lab request. Then you take it to the lab or X-ray, then it will be done. You return to the doctor. The doctor will then be able to advise on what you're suffering from, recommend medication. Either you go home, or if you don't go home with your medication, you're admitted. Then in the ward, you meet the nurses. They'll take care of you. You move on. You'll be healed. You'll be discharged. You go home. Also, home medication. You continue. After some time, you'll be okay. You'll be back to service. We are saying this particular person who went into the hospital went in as an input. What was the input? Probably, you can put it a customer. But doctors will say the input was a patient. So a patient gets into the transformation process. Then we now get to the 5 P's of OM so that you can do your symbol notes if you're taking notes. There will be people in the transformation process, and this is the healthcare process of the hospital. And I want to then discuss a few categories of persons involved in transforming the patient to enhance the individual, because that is the output. So if you have drawn your model in a notebook, the input is a patient. The patient goes through a transformation process. The output is a healthy individual. What operation process are we dealing with here? Healthcare process. Okay, healthcare process. So let me discuss the people who are going to add value to the patient. Number 1, the medical doctors. what do the medical doctors do in terms of value addition? We say, sometimes we say they treat, which is okay, using a layman's language. But the right word is that they do diagnosis of the illness the patient has. We say a problem known is half solved. So the value had for the medical doctor is to diagnose. This is, you explain the symptoms. Doctor says, this is depression. I don't think you are sick. It's depression. What have you been going through? Then you say, oh, Daktari, you know, have been attending online classes. Then there has been deadlines at the workplace. I was transferred to a new station. My family is away. My firstborn is sitting KCP examinations, and I've not even visited them. I did not attend even the prayer day. My wife delivered maybe last week. She's still in hospital. I'm far, and then you break down. And the doctor tells you, now, this is the way to go about it. First, I prescribe this medication. Medication is supposed to maybe cool down in terms of your nervous system, your thought process, so that you can sleep a bit. And then we'll also tell you other things which you need to do to be able to cope with the situations. I've just given you an example of depression. It could be that your leg or your arm is fractured. What are they going to do? You see an orthopedic surgeon, and they are going to operate on you, and then they are going to put plaster, and then the healing, callus formation is going to start, and your bones, you get joined. These persons are there to do proper diagnosis of the illness. And other, beyond the doctor, then you'll have the nurse. There will be somebody who, the doctor will prescribe maybe that you're actually admitted in the hospital. And when you are admitted, you need some nursing care. Could be some wounds have to be dressed, for them to heal, to be cleaned, for them to heal. And then also some injections have to be done when you're in the ward throughout. Then the nurse has to organize that you are given the right food in the hospital. Value add. You're feeding well, medication is being given at the right time because the nurse is doing their work, the doctor has done their work. In terms of these people, again, additionally, there will be lab technicians. Sometimes, what we are suffering from, the doctor has an idea in diagnosis, but wants confirmation or wants a way to know exactly whether what the doctor is alluding to in terms of your healthcare problem is actually true. So what does the doctor do? The doctor prescribes or writes for you a lab request. So there will be a lab technician who is going to add value in terms of testing you to confirm whether you are suffering from a certain illness or you are not suffering from that particular illness. And if that particular lab technician is not there, that value add in terms of confirming the presence or absence of a certain illness within your body system, that particular value add is not going to be provided. And so then the doctor may continue treating the wrong illness, and so the patient does not end up getting cured. You may even end up dying. So the output doesn't become a healthy individual. Remember, I've only dealt with the number 1 P, people. There could be others who cook for you when you are in the hospital, so that before you take medication, you have proper nutrition to help in recovery. That is people. Number 2, plans in the healthcare system. When we talk about plans, we say plans refer to infrastructure that is capital intensive and it is used in the service delivery system or in the value addition process. Okay? Again, I repeat, infrastructure that is capital intensive and it is used in the value addition process. So, if I mention a few examples away from the hospital, if I talk about the university, because the plant has the connotation of a factory, from a manufacturing perspective, which is still true because the factory is actually a plant and it is an infrastructure which is capital intensive and which is used to make either mabati or a cement or whatever it is. But service organizations like banks, for example, where Grace works, they also have plans. The police force also, they have plans. Okay, what are these plans? For example, the police force, they have a security system where they are able to track, identify criminals and know where they are. And that is capital intensive. And it is used in the value addition process because when we are trying to create the output, maybe a nation which is crime-free, without that particular infrastructure of netting the criminals, it is not easy for you to be able to create that kind of nation. Now, for the banks have something like the banking software, worth a lot of millions, which we used to do our mobile banking, ATM withdrawal, deposits, over-the-counter withdrawal, transfers, trade finance, name them. Without that, it is not easy to do banking, and it is a plant. Even the ATM network alone is a plant. In the university, we talk about lecture halls, libraries, as plants, which are capital intensive, where students come. They have an environment where they can sit and study, and without it, studying, delivering either lectures, practicals, examinations becomes chaotic. It could be an online learning system. It is a plant because you can reach students, you can examine them, you can do whatever you want to do. So back to our example then, which is the hospital. Then what are the plans here? The plans could include the wards where patients are admitted. So without wards, we cannot take care of critically ill patients. Somebody requires to be taken to the ICU. The ICU intensive care unit is a plant by itself. That is why it is charged thousands and thousands of shillings within a week or millions within a week because it is capital intensive. But somebody who was about to die, oxygen is provided, feeding, whatever it is, they are sustained 1 week and they're back to life. And somebody will say, if there was no ICU, I would have actually passed on. But this hospital had a plant called ICU. This particular hospital had a plant called wards. This particular hospital had a plant called lab, where all tests, screening of cancer, everything, proper diagnosis is done. And without the plants, some tests cannot be done, some admissions cannot be done, some operations cannot be done. And consequently, we may not deliver a healthy individual in our transformation process. Okay? If I move to the next, which is parts. We say parts are consumables. Consumables used during the value addition process. In other words, you'll buy them, you'll use them, they'll get extinguished, you replace them, you buy others. Plants are maintained. And the plants are only replaced when they are obsolete or when new technology has come up. Because we now need better systems. Better systems, you can do better work. But parts, they can be replaced daily, weekly, monthly. For example, at the university, we have reading material. This could be databases like Emerald, EBSCOhost, which we have subscribed to and which students like yourselves, you need to be using to read and study. And if you actually get to know how to use the university databases quite early in your academic life, you're going to find reading very interesting and very current also. Because publications of 2021, 2022, as early as it is, they are there, and you'll be able to read current knowledge. Textbooks in the library, journals in the library, they are parts. Now, in banks, we talk about withdrawal slips, we talk about checkbooks, name them. These are things which we buy, we use them. ATM cards, we give to customers, they expire, we give them others, etc. Call them parts. Now, in an healthcare system, the one we are dealing with, what are the examples of our parts? Our parts could be medicines. Let me not use the word drugs because sometimes it's confused with other drugs which you know. So medicines. So you give me medicines for example, pneumonia. I'll use them. Then they'll be out of stock. The next patient cannot get them. You buy others, you stock them. So without medicine, the patient may not be cured. Without a bandage, which you can actually use to wrap a wound and clean, disinfect wounds, and then dress them, as it were. I may not use the proper medical terms because I know I may also have medics in my class. You dress the wound properly, then healing may not be as it should happen because either the right medicine was not there or the right dressing was not there. Even food used in the wards, fruits, beans, vegetables, etc., constitute parts. So patients who are fed well as they take medicine, recovery is fast. So you are able to deliver a healthy individual better because of the nutrition process of the hospital. And you can continue. Parts could be beddings which are used in the hospital, and the process goes on and on. It could be stationery you are using to print hospital bills or checkbooks you have in the hospital, referral forms you have. These are what we are calling parts. So consumables which are used during the value addition process. And so somebody will be saying, we can't admit you because the admission forms are not there. So when are they going to be available? We don't know, but according to our procedure, we can't admit you unless we have booked you and all this has been done. And unless you wait for the next 3, 4, 5 hours to have a part in place or a medicine in place to inject a patient, the patient dies. So why did the patient die? Because a certain part, either a medicine or a form or whatever it is, or a reagent to do a certain test was not available at the right time. And therefore, value addition could not be done as it is required. Remember, the value addition is about supporting the patient in the recovery process. All these 5 P's of OM, there is an interplay of them to be able to create the healthy individual we are looking for. Number 4, processes. The processes can also be referred to as methods of value addition. Okay? So, for example, when I'm doing a lecture, it is a method of value addition. I'm sharing knowledge through a lecture. I can also add value through another approach. I can just use 30 minutes. I give you very complicated assignments. I tell you, okay, in groups of 5, form groups of 5, meet online, discuss. Then I'll give you room to present. We can even have lecture 1 on Monday and another lecture on Friday evening for presentations. And me, I failed to do any lecture beyond 30 minutes throughout the semester. So short assignments, this particular group discusses, they present. Another assignment, this group discusses, they present. And at the end of, some of you will not like the method. And at the end of the semester, you say, we did not like what Mwalimu was actually, because he was throwing a lot of the work to us. But surprisingly, I now know so many things in operations management, but it was taxing to me because I had to read, I had to prepare. It is a process of value addition. When we are teaching you, when we're giving you assignments, when we're giving you cuts and exams, all these are ways of making sure that you actually gain knowledge in this particular teaching process. And we only confirm that we have the knowledge through the exam we'll set and examine you at the end of the semester. That is just the teaching process. Okay? And so if I now get into the healthcare process, I would say Number one, what we call consultation, doctor's consultation, is a process of value addition, where you have a one-on-one with the doctor. What is it? How do you feel during the night? What about early in the morning? Do you sweat? Do you wake up in the middle of the night to go to the washrooms? That is a process of consultation. We call it consultation. And they say that is the word they use. Pay consultation. So when we pay consultation fee, it's a process of value addition where the doctor listens to our health care problem or health problem. And out of the story we are sharing, patterns or forms an opinion about what we are suffering from. And if you go to the doctor and you are not able to talk, then the doctor will not use that as a way to treat you, because consultation may not have value. So what other way of value addition will the doctor add, or will the doctor use? The doctor can use another approach of observation and the tests, because this patient is unconscious. The patient cannot talk. The person who has brought the patient to the hospital is a well-wisher. Maybe the person collapsed along the streets. You picked them as a good Samaritan, as it were, took them to Nairobi Hospital or Kenyatta or Pangani, whichever hospital. Then you say, I just decided to play this as a social duty as a citizen of this country, not to let a life like this lost. So I brought this patient to you. Take care of them. Bill me. In case you have a problem with billing, I'll pay. But I don't know what they're suffering from. So the doctor will do observations, will recommend certain tests. And out of these particular tests, then diagnosis is done. So observation is a process of also trying to do diagnosis. Lab test is a process of trying to do diagnosis. Then admission is a process of value addition. Surgery to remove a tumor is a process of value addition. And the story goes on. Physiotherapy is a process of value addition because the nervous system is not working. You are not able to walk, etc., etc. Processes of value addition. And the point is, if an hospital, if an healthcare system is less, minus one or two of the processes which add value to the patients, then some of the patients, they may not end up getting healed. Why? Because my back required physiotherapy. You don't offer those services. So if I can't go elsewhere, I'll probably become disabled. I required an operation for a tumor to be removed. I'm probably based in the remote areas of this country. I cannot go to any other place. This tumor will grow. Finally, the output will not be an healthy individual. I will die out of the tumor. Why? Because a process like operation, doctors were there, plans were there, parts were there. But in this particular plans, there was no operation theater. That particular hospital did not have surgeons. So they cannot do an operation. So what will happen? If I require an operation, I'll not be operated, I will die. No healthy individual, because 1P or some aspects of the piece were actually missing. Lastly, in this particular example, planning and control. Because when we are doing value addition, we have to plan. What do we plan? We plan, for example, when we do ward rounds. Let me use that example for hospitals. When we do ward rounds, doctors like doing ward rounds in the morning. Now, let me not pretend to be a medic to say why, but if I use my street knowledge, my pedestrian knowledge, as it were, patients' illnesses become worse during the night. Even animals, for those of us who keep animals like me, I like going to my livestock shed very early in the morning, around 6:30, 7, not 5, 6:30, when also there's light, not natural light, so that I'm able to observe. Then I'm able to listen to the animals, the way the animals are breathing very early in the morning. Then I'm able to make a determination in terms of whether they are okay or not. If you go any other time, like midnight, and you may not, midday, 3 p.m., 4 p.m., you may pick some, but you pick the advanced effects. So I don't know why doctors do odd rounds in the morning. Then there is planning about when to do this operation. There is planning about antenatal clinics, postnatal clinics, so that you lump the expectant mothers all together in one day. Why? You optimize on your process of healthcare so that you provide specialists for the mothers during that particular day. And you see 50, 40 mothers. So if you are paying these doctors consultation, whatever, fees, they'll be able to see a lot of patients and you'll be able to manage your costs operationally. That is initial planning. Diabetes clinics, you schedule them. HIV clinics, you schedule them. Cancer screening, you plan them depending on when you're inviting the healthcare persons or any other or times of the year. You plan immunizations depending on other information like epidemiology studies of diseases, as it were. Then you control the number of admissions. Like now during Corona, you control the number of patients who can actually sit. You control the number of hours a doctor should actually be seeing patients so that no fatigue. And therefore, sometimes they do it just for the sake of it, and they're not keen. You control lab experiments in terms of time so that you get the right results, which helps you in your diagnosis. So when you use the 5 P's of OM as explained, you'll be able to deliver a healthy individual. I've done one example. That example, if it was in an exam, discussing, relating the 5 P's of OM to an healthcare delivery system, I'll give you 25 marks. Obviously, 2-3 pages will be full out of the writing, at least minimum 2 pages out of that. So I want to use example number 2, and example number 2 will be a manufacturing plant example. Specifically, I'll use a soda ash example. For the sake of our colleagues who pray, I can give you 10 minutes. It's exactly 7:03. So 7:13, we can converge online and carry on with example 2. Then I'll be able to summarize my lecture. Is that in order?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, welcome back. I believe we are now ready to proceed. Confirm that you are able to hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Great. I said that I now want to share example 2. And after this example 2, then I summarize and we finish number 2. It's my wish that I finish number 2 today, and God willing, I will finish it. So allow me now to use, so the first example of an hospital was actually an example in the service sector. So the other one of Tata Chemicals Magadi is a manufacturing example, and manufacturing sector example. So that we have an example from the service sector and manufacturing sector. And now if I set any question from any of the 2 sectors, then I'll have done justice to that during my lecture. So Tata Chemicals Magadi, what is the input of Tata Chemicals Magadi? What is the output? Now, many people don't even know the input of Magadi soda. Some say it is, I don't know. What do you think it is? If I can hear from you, a few of you, 1 or 2 of you, what is the input of Tata Chemicals Magadi? Or let me leave Magadi aside. What is the input of Mumea Sugar or Zoya Sugar? What is the input of a sugar factory? Sugarcane, great, sugarcane. So the input is sugarcane, the output is sugar. Very good example. What is the output of Pan Pepper Mills Wembuya? I don't know whether it still operates. The input could be logs of wood. The output could be pepper or is pepper. Now, using that particular symbol example of those 2 companies, let us get back to Tata Chemicals Magadi. I know quite a number of you here in this particular class know where Magadi is. Magadi is several kilometers down, 90 kilometers away from Keserian at the Rift Valley. And that is where soda ash is made. So what is the input of this company? Those of us who know the input. If we don't know the input, then I can say, what you call Magadi has another word called crude refined soda, or in chemical terms, we call it sodium square carbonate. Sodium square carbonate. I want to explain this so that you understand the process for those of us who don't know. And then it becomes now very easy to now go through the transformation process. So when you mine in the lake, the mineral mined in the lake is crude refined soda or sodium carbonate. Now that particular raw material is the input to the plant, Magadi soda manufacturing plant. Now, the manufacturing plant is sort of a kiln or a furnace where you burn. If we are using chemical terms, we talk about oxidation, which is adding oxygen to a substance. But you do that through burning. So you burn the crude refined soda, and out of burning it, you have an output. And the output is what we call soda ash or sodium carbonate. That is what we use, the white substance, which you can call ash. It is what we use in purifying water. It is what we use in making something we call soda glass. Soda glass is a certain ingredient we use in washing detergents like Omo. So when you are washing your clothes, the Omo is made there. there are particles of sand inside, but you cannot know because the particles of sand are made or are done through a furnace where fine particles, ground particles of sand are melted when they are engulfed in soda ash, so that you lower the melting point. Then you form that soda glass, you grind it, you mix with Omo or any other detergent, and you are able to wash to create friction when you are washing your clothes, so that it removes that. Soda ash has several uses. Okay. Now that said, I want now to move on and talk about the soda ash manufacturing process as a transformation process or as a value adding process. So the input, crude refined soda or magadi or sodium square carbonate, we take that through the transformation process. We have an output, sodium carbonate or what we call soda ash. What is the difference? The uses of soda ash are many, we have seen them. The uses of magadi, we know them. There are not many. One of it being, it is used to make, what is it? Some people use it crudely to cook, to quicken cooking process, which I don't know whether nutritionally is actually right. Our forefathers have used magadi to make tobacco snuff, so that I don't know what it does. Then some people use it also to cure if a cow eats polythene paper. Farmers use it to be able to break down polythene paper in the intestine of a cow by mixing that magadi with Omo and other things crudely. Again, I don't know whether from a livestock doctor's perspective that is right, but those are some of the things they do. And it is also used in industrial process in another way. But it cannot make, what I'm trying to tell you is the crude refined soda. You can't make window paints with it. You can't purify water with it. You can't make soda glass with it, etc. You can't make beer bottles because it's the one also which is used by Central Glass to make beer bottles. So I start with the people. The people who are used in the transformation process here, number one, the mining staff, who are able to operate what we call the dredges. The dredges are the floating equipment which mines the mineral in the lake. If you have visited Magadi, you or if you visit later, you'll be able to see some installations inside the lake. That is exactly what they do. So they mine. So without having people who can mine it, you'll never have it to even add value to it. So the first port of call in value addition is, can you mine it first? Extract it from the base of the lake and then bring it to the factory. So the first value addition is mining it or extracting it from the base of the lake. Then after that, you pump it either to the plant or you vary it using tractors, which is quite cumbersome and expensive to the plant. So that is the value they had. Then drivers is also another class of people. They transport the miners to the lake and any other persons, including also the raw material to the factory, so that it can actually be added more value. So what value do they add? Drivers add the value we call locational transformation. They move either personnel from this particular location to the location where you are most required to be able to do something else. Or they move material from the lake where it cannot be burnt to the factory where it can be burnt. So without that locational change, we'll not be able to burn the material. So they have their beat, their hardy. So you mine, I move. So where I have moved it, now somebody else can also proceed to add more value in terms of either purification or burning. Then you are plant operators. Plant operators feed the plant with the right quantity of raw material. I'm using the word right quantity of raw material because if you overfeed the plant, then the oxidation process will be incomplete. So you'll produce substandard product, which is not burned to completion, because the burning power is less than the material in the furnace. The furnace has a lot of material than expected. So that you control what we call the feed rate, so that it is enough for the firing in the furnace, which you have actually set, so that you produce the right chemical compound you're actually looking for. And they'll proceed, there will be lab technicians who will test the raw material to know whether it has impurities, because you don't want to produce soil instead of soda ash. You are burning soil. So what are you going to produce? You are not burning crude refined soda, because when you are mining natural raw material, there are chances that because of rivers flowing into the lake with mud and every other thing, you can easily mine mud together with a small component of crude refined soda. And as a result, then you need somebody to test to be able to confirm that, as they say, it is greater than 95% sodium carbonate in any output you're going to make. And then you'll be able to produce exactly what you are promising your customers. And I can continue talking about people. But for the interest of time, allow me to move to the next P, plants. So when we talk about plants, I told you, again, it is infrastructure which is capital intensive. So here we have what we call, if you go to Magadi, they talk about the calciner. The calciner is specifically the furnace itself, where the raw material is burnt. It's a long tube, sort of steel tube, which inside is a mixture of heavy furnace oil and diesel, which is thrown into the furnace, and then it is ignited so that there is burning inside that particular calcination tube throughout. So when material is flowing in, it is being burnt continuously. That is what we call the manufacturing plant. Now, there are other sub-plants which I will also mention. We have the grinding and screening plant. So the calcination plant is there to add value through chemical change. In other words, to carry out the oxidation process of burning. So without it, you can't burn. You can't change the chemical form. And if you cannot change the chemical form, you cannot have the compound you're looking for. Hence, it can't be used for the uses we talked about. Then, the grinding and screening plant. You grind the output to finer particles for the purposes you put the final product to. For example, purifying water, it cannot be big rocks because you put it in water which will be swallowed by people. So it has to be very fine dust. So the grinding and screening plant is there to grind the output into small particles, screen it to make sure that only the accepted particles move to the next process so that the output produced is ideal for the uses it will be made to. Then we have what we call the packing and stitching plant. The packing and stitching plant adds value we call portability, because you want to package the raw material into portable quantities, 50 kg, maybe 1 ton. You can lift with a forklift or less than that. So the packing and the stitching plant will add the value of, one, you pack, you weigh to be sure that you have the right weight. And then after that, you stitch it so that it doesn't pour. So that is the value that particular plant is adding. And I can move on and still say the lab is a plant, and it adds the value of testing chemical properties, impurities, etc. Any test you want to do to be able to control the manufacturing process towards the goals set by the farm. Several plants. Remember, we also talk about vehicles as a plant. The total collection of vehicles in a manufacturing facility or a service facility is what we call the mobile plant. The mobile plant adds value of locational change. You have tractors, you have front-end loaders, you have forklifts, you have pickups, you have personal cars, all that. Either they carry managers to either a point of repair or a point of supervision of the work being done, or the front-end loader is used to heap or stack the raw material into the warehouse as it awaits to be fed into the plant. The forklift is there to add the value of lifting the packaged product into waiting trucks or into the warehouse to be sold later. That kind of discussion will not, an instructor marking your paper will only write maximum points, 5. You have given me 7. I don't want 7. You have exceeded because you have explained to satisfaction. Okay. Then number 3, parts, consumables, used during the value addition process. I want to start with a very obvious one. The very obvious one in terms of parts is what we call heavy furnace oil. Because I told you, to burn the raw material, you need a substance. What is this particular substance? You can use, there is another technology called crystallization process. Let me not get into that because Tata Chemicals, Magadi tried that. By the way, they have 2 plants. There's one which uses crystallization. There's another one which uses that particular furnace. You can pay them a visit, but they will tell you their darling plant is the one which uses a furnace, and it is a very old plant. The other one is a new plant. They did at a cost of around 9 billion Kenya shillings, around 14 years ago is when they commissioned that plant, but just never given them results like the old plant. The old plant still remains their darling. So every furnace oil, what you burn, if it is not there and it is used for industrial use because it burns slowly and a lot of it, and therefore it is cheaper in industrial use. It is like the waste product of petroleum refinery, sort of. But it is now used in manufacturing as source of fuel. So without it, you can't burn, no chemical change. What else is a part? The chemicals you use in the lab. If they are not there, you cannot perform the chemical tests which you are supposed to perform. Therefore, you can't confirm quality of raw material, quality of final output, quality of intermediate work in progress, name it. Other parts could be spare parts used. We have conveyor belts, spare parts. You use them, they'll get old, you replace them. You have gearboxes which run the conveyors. They'll run, they'll fail. You have others. You have other parts of the plant, many like the entire furnace is rotated by a very serious part we call guard gear, which is very expensive as a spare part, which has to always be there because if it fails, then the rotation of the kiln, because it keeps on being rotated so that it spreads the raw material as it drops down the furnace. You can only understand that if, for example, you just go to YouTube and then you watch a video of soda ash manufacturing process through the use of a furnace, then you'll be able to understand exactly what I'm talking about, because now learning is actually so easy through the use of technology platform. So just put a note there. You can watch a video on soda ash manufacturing process through the use of a furnace or the burning approach, as it were. Then you can continue petrol, diesel to run the cars. If it is not there, the cars will not run. The front-end loaders will not also be able to operate. Gasoline for the forklifts, they will not be able to lift. and therefore you will not be able to stack goods in the warehouse or load them into waiting trucks. You can also say bags, 50 kg bags, if they are not there, you will not be able to pack the soda ash. And if you can't pack, you can create portability. And so you can pack in containers to be able to move to Taiwan or any other place. Name it. You continue. Parts, I mean, sometimes I wonder, when I test this area, somebody writes a page about the 5 P's, and the person is dry of points, completely dry. You are even trying to look for where to award marks because the person doesn't even have material. Okay? Let me tell you this as an instructor. The easiest answer sheet to mark is the answer sheet of a serious student who knows what they are writing. Because it just flows as you read. As you read, you are just awarding. But reading the script of a student who did not either prepare for the exam or probably registered for a course she did not have time for or has no interest or I don't know which words to describe. But sometimes you get a script and it's like, what was wrong with this student? Did they attend lectures? And you see, I keep on telling you this. Operations management is an application-based course. So cramming may not help you. In fact, I can actually bring something close to this particular slide in an exam. And then I set the question. And if this is probably what you had in your Kenya, of what use will it be? I don't think it will help you a lot. Then I move on to the processes of value addition in manufacturing soda ash. One of them is dredging. And for your information, the dredger is also a plant because it's a very expensive installation. If you happen to visit Tata Chemicals Magadi, there are two types of dredging technologies. We have what we call bucket dredging. The buckets, you know. And then there is what we call screw type dredging. Screw type dredging, it's just a kind of something which rotates underground, and then it is able to screw the raw material, then you suck it. Dredgers, buckets, sort of rotate. There are many, like, you see these elevators which are in the malls which takes you up, then they come down. So those buckets, they are steel buckets. There are many which go up and down the base of the dredger where the raw material is. They hit the rock and they're able to scoop, and then it is taken up to the dredger, poured to a crusher unit, and the crusher unit now crushes the so-called the soft rocks of the raw material, and then mixed with water, sort of, because where you are dredging, there will always be water in the lake. Then you pump that as sort of what we call a trona or slurry of some sort to the main plant. Okay, so process dredging. Dredging is, in a layman's way, digging, because initially you are just digging the raw material so that then they can mine it through the process of digging. If you don't dig it, then you cannot harvest it for the next process. So digging is a way of harvesting the raw material. That is the value you are going to add. Then the other process is transportation or pumping. You can mix the raw material with water, pump, as trona. Then on the other end, you extract the water and you dry it up, or you pour it somewhere where you let the water drain. Then you feed it to the plant thereafter. So pumping is a process. It's a way of delivering a substance from one location to another. That is why we are able to have petrol from Mombasa to Nairobi without a truck. It has changed. We have moved it. We have added value. With what value? Location or change. It was in Mombasa, it's in Nairobi. Depot here. We can now sell it here in Nairobi. So are you saying no value added? There is value added because there is location or change. What other process? Adding is a process of value addition. Why? The chemical change of the raw material has changed to another form, which now is a soda ash which we can actually use. Grinding, breaking the particle sizes to smaller particle sizes, which can actually be used for the purposes set, is a process of value addition. Stitching, packing to create portability are processes of value addition. Then I finally say, for planning and control, we plan many things. Let me start with, we plan the number of shifts to run. Are they going to be 3? Are they going to be 2 or 1? Okay? 8-hour shifts. Like Tata Chemicals, Magadi, they do 3 shifts of 8 hours. So it's a 24-hour operation. We plan, so when we do that, when we are doing planning of that particular sort, in terms of our value addition, we ensure we have enough personnel to be able to run the transformation process throughout the day. That is the value add. So customers expecting soda ash, they'll never miss because we are doing a 24-hour operation. Anybody coming, they'll find us producing something. We plan when to shut down parts of the plant for maintenance. Because if we run them without maintaining, they'll break down and we will not be able to add value to the input. We plan the output to produce, and you can go on. We plan when to do shift changeover. Shift changeovers in Magadi, they are done at 7, they are done at 3 p.m., they are done at 11 p.m. Let me ask you a simple question. If you plan a shift changeover, whichever work now, if you plan a shift changeover to take place at 2 p.m., or let me not say 2 p.m., at 2 a.m., 2 a.m., what would be wrong with that? Now, I've given you the example of Magadi. One shift will come in at 7, the other one will come in at 3, the other one will come in at 11 p.m. Now, I can have another way where a shift starts at 2 a.m. That's 8 hours. So if you get 2, you are at 8. That is going to be 10. So the next shift will come in at 10 a.m. Then 10 a.m., you add another 8 hours. That will be 18. The other shift will come in at 6 p.m. What will be the problem with that, with the next shift compared with the Magadi one? Operationally. Let me hear those of us who are very alert. Who goes first? Me, I like classes which participate. Have I been understood? Okay, someone.
Yeah, I think there will be a challenge with especially those who are coming in during the late hours. Maybe there will be need to make arrangements to bail them and probably to release them for security purpose because of the timing.
Okay, true. Samuel, very correct. So Samuel has looked at the 2 a.m. shift. And he's saying 2 a.m. shift. No public transport is operating, possibly most of the areas, if it is in Nairobi. So what are the staff going to use to go to work? And most of these particular guys who work on shift, a number of them don't drive their own cars. And even if they drive their own cars, it's very insecure during that particular time to go to work. So he's saying, yes, you can do your shifts, but you'll have security challenges, which you need to know how to work around that. You'll have transport challenges, and you need to know how to have a solution to that, just in case you want to maintain the shift changeover. I want you to understand why planning sometimes, it doesn't just come by flukes, by accident, that we change at this time, this particular time. It is informed by certain things. That That is one way of looking at it. Then I have Oduori Michel. And then after that, Edwin can comment quickly. Oduori. Oduori, we are not hearing you. So as you prepare to be heard, can we hear from Edwin? Either you are muted, so we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Other than just logistics, which means people will log in late, and therefore this will also affect the productivity of the work.
I want specifically.
We'll also look at
yes,
the fatigue because of the
fatigue. Specifically,
fatigue is another issue because because of the long working hours and the schedule. Because most people tend to work better maybe during the daytime compared to working in such a company, which is mining at night.
No, but this is if this is a 24-hour operation, every shift is just working 8 hours. So if you book in at 2 a.m., you just work 8 hours. That is why you are booking off at 10 a.m. And then others get in at 10, add 8 hours to that, they book off at 18, which is actually 6 p.m. And I'm asking, what is the problem with that kind of planning? So that when I set questions of that nature, you'll not say, Mwalimu, but this is not what you taught. I want you to know when you are doing transformation process, there is a proper way to do planning so that it is efficient, it is effective in terms of delivering the goals, and it doesn't cost you a lot as an organization, and it doesn't deliver less than you expected. What is wrong with a shift changeover of 10 a.m.? 10 a.m.? Anybody who can comment on that? I see James.
Okay, I wanted to comment about the one of 2 a.m. Because I just think that being a very odd working hour, then it means when this person finishes their shift and goes back home, maybe the other members of that family will have left for the day, maybe to school and maybe to work if the wife is working. So it will affect their social life. And when their social life is affected, then it also means their productivity will be reduced. And then during the day, they will not be able to rest as much as they would during the night, because during the day, somehow the mind is still aware that there are other activities going on, or the other human beings are still awake, so you can't really sleep.
James, there are persons we call humanists. So it sounds like you are a humanist. So you are looking at some of those books over at 10 a.m. So kids have gone to school, husband or wife has gone to work, so you are just alone in the house, so you don't get to even see anybody. Which is true, it will affect your productivity in a way. Because if you had booked off at 11, you'll be able to see your kids go to school in the morning. True, you'll be able to see your spouse in the morning as they leave for work. There's some truth in it, and it can actually affect your productivity. True, as opposed to the other arrangement. But I want you to comment that what about when you are booking in at 10 a.m. from an organizational perspective? How does the organization benefit or suffer when shift changeover is taking place at 10 a.m. as opposed to 7 a.m.? Anybody? Okay, let me comment quickly because I don't see any hand up. Managers report to work in the morning, managers of your organization. So by 7, 8, they are already in. When they come in, obviously, they plan the day. Now, when they are planning the day, there is already a shift which is progressing work, meaning that they will not change what they set out to do, because they are already towards the tail end of the shift. They're already ending at 10 a.m. So when managers are trying to introduce anything new to that particular shift, it will be a tall order. These guys were there during the night, they are tired, they have not slept. You are coming in the morning, you are fresh, you want them to change something, and they're only changing for the next 2 hours and they book off. So it will not be effective. That is why when you move the shift changeover from 10 a.m. to 7, then these people will book off at 7. And by the time another shift is reporting, managers have reported. So they all start together. And they can now change anything they want to change when all of them are fresh. The shift workers are energetic. They are setting the goals for the shift. They can change because it's just at the beginning. That is exactly what happens from an operational standpoint. And it is important when you are planning, don't just have timings for the sake of it. Ask yourself, what efficiencies does this kind of planning create? How effective will I be in terms of executing the organization's goals? And because that is why you are actually employed. And it is important to have that in mind. Then you can draw the number of workers per shift. You can draw the feed rate so that the banning is as it should be. You can draw the target of output per shift so that you are able to meet your weekly targets and your monthly targets, etc., etc., etc. And I believe with those 2 examples of value addition, even if I don't cover any other slide, that is teaching of 1 slide. And sometimes I keep on saying this. You don't require a lot of slides to teach. You can actually lecture using 3 slides in 2 hours or 2.5 hours. Allow me to move to the next slide. So, what I've discussed then can actually be summarized in terms of value addition systems in form of the types of value additions we do. We call these transformations. So the case of Tata Chemicals Magadi is a manufacturing concern, and therefore the transformation form is physical. So the form of crude refined soda is not the form of soda ash. They look different. They are able to do different things, or they can be used for different things. As simple as that. Mud is not bricks. Soil is not bricks. Okay? Limestone is not cement. So when we take limestone through manufacturing, we have something which looks different physically and which is able to do different things physically also, which we can see. That is in manufacturing. In transformation, the value add is locational. Locational. A story is not a story, but if you Google, you discover that there is this young man who suffered a lot in Kenya. And because he was hearing about the story of, oh, when you go abroad, your life changes. Locational change alone. You know, some of us, we have suffered here looking for jobs. Some people say you are not schooled enough, etc., etc. Others are in the rural area saying, me, the way I work, if I can have an opportunity just to be in Nairobi, I know I cannot sleep hungry. I'll work for these people attending online classes. By the time they come back, they will find their houses clean, their kids taken care of, and they'll earn money. But how do I get to Nairobi? And I don't have fare. Any money I'm getting, I'm buying food, I have children, they can never be to Nairobi, where they can actually earn a living. So, the story of this young man. So this young man thought about going abroad. So he sneaked through the fence of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Somehow he managed to get in. Very small boy. And this young boy went to the belly of an aircraft unnoticed. Unnoticed. And the plane took off with this young man, folded its wings. And this guy, this young boy, was delivered to the other side. I don't know whether it was Paris or Amsterdam. I don't know what the city was. I think it was in the headlines. obviously, this boy died a hero. He flew from Kenya to abroad under the belly of an aircraft to change location where his labor or his life could be of more value than being here in our country. Can you imagine? Some of us, if today you are in the dust bins, you are just around the dust bins of Japan. Mark my words, dust bins of Japan. You will have a computer probably not older than 5 years, a refrigerator. You are not buying, you're just collecting, like the way we throw things. You collect a refrigerator, you collect a computer, a television set, a music system, and then probably somebody will come and ask you, by the way, my car is supposed to be crashed within the next 4 months. Can I donate it to you if you know how to do with it, with the government rules and regulations? If you want to go back to Kenya, it's up to you. You organize how it goes. I don't care. From the dust bins of Japan. So you change from Kenya to Japan, you already have all that. You can equip your house, you can equip your office because of locational change. That is what is delivered by aircrafts which transport our flowers to Europe, sea vessels which transport our magadi or soda ash to China, to Thailand, our coffee and tea, because as we don't even take coffee. So elsewhere, it has more value. Quickmart, the new baby in town, and the Naivas, the older one, they are opening their doors every day to sell to us. Kenya, we are good in retailing. Exchange. When we work, we don't need money. After this particular class and after the end of the month, we don't need money from the university. What for? Money is just a medium of exchange. So if I can fuel my car, if my kids are schooling, whenever they are, university, secondary, let the university pay. If I need gas, let me collect, and the money is being remitted. Well, if I'm unwell, doctors will be paid. Okay, my house will have food. I don't need money. What for? Money is just a medium of exchange. So retail shops offer the value addition of take my money, give me what I don't have. Exchange. Warehousing is another form of transformation. And the transformation done is storage. When we store, we shield the inventory, merchandise from bad weather, from being stolen. And when we store, we are also able to let the stored item appreciate in value. They say those who take wine, they say that wine appreciates with age. So if you can get wine which is 500 years old, that will be the best wine, most expensive. So storage adds value, like wine, for example. And then you can blend coffee A and the coffee A and the coffee C. You blend to form coffee B, which has another price. In healthcare institutions like hospitals, we add value through physiological stroke, psychological. Add there, physiological stroke, psychological transformation. Why? Because sometimes our bodies are not sick. Because in physiological care, you either have a fracture, so you are operated, it's sorted. You have a tumor, you're operated, it's removed. That is physiological transformation. And then you are healthy now. But you may have a psychological problem. You need counseling. You have looked for a wife, and you are now 45 and you have never found one. You wonder whether you are such bad never to have a wife at the age of 45. Then you see a doctor, and the doctor counsels you and tells you how you can see others, social workers, who can actually advise you now to get a wife. And some of them will tell you, do you know these days you don't have to wait for people at the entrance of churches or go for football match or cameo cinema, or talk to the next person in a matatu, as it were, during our times. You know, you people, you have also missed good times. Now, these days, you go to a dating website, and you're able to get a spouse within even 2 days. Hey, That is your generation now. And this guy goes to the website, posts photographs there, likes, blah, blah, Instagram. Within a month, the guy gets a wife. But he was about to be admitted in an hospital, but through psychological transformation, counseling, being assisted by social workers, which now actually gets to the next, sort of also informational transformation, being given information he doesn't have and he doesn't know. The life of that guy is changed. Now, where we are in terms of what we are doing in M-Pesa, calling, SMS, emailing, Instagram, Facebook, etc. Personally, I'm not a user of social media a lot. I read a bit what people say, and I get perturbed by the extent to which Kenyans expose themselves in social media. You have your photographs there on Instagram. When you go this particular place, you see, here I am with my colleagues doing MBCD. And by the way, I'm not a technology laggard. You need to appreciate the fact that I was a systems analyst or programmer in 1996 when there were no computers being used a lot in this country. I was programming, I was writing applications. When Facebook was launched, I was less than customer number 1,000 in Kenya, my first account. So I'm not a technology laggard, but my problem is because I've been in the field of ICT also, I know the disadvantages of overexposure, over communication. Some of us, you need to be very careful. You miss appointments, you miss promotions on account senior appointments which you qualify on account of things you wrote on your social media account. Get to know that. I'm saying in telecommunications, we inform. And that is value adding. Because if I say, I just send a message to the class president ending and say, inform the class that I will not have a class tomorrow. It's on a Sunday. Then you plan for other things. There's a lot of value add. You get engaged instead of wasting time. You are waiting for me to admit you only to be called and I'm saying, sorry. I forgot. We were not to have the class. You have wasted your time. Move on to the next. And I'm saying, if I summarize, we have input, transformation, output relationships for typical systems here. And so for an hospital, we have patients as the primary input. The resources are there, medical doctors, which are people, nurses, which are people, medical supplies, which are parts, equipment, which falls within plants, like probably ICU equipment. Then the primary transformation function is actually healthcare. And the output is what we desire to get from an healthcare system is actually healthy individuals. Restaurant, where we frequent, you and me, hungry customers. We want to have at the end satisfied customers. But what we need to use in our transformation chamber, food, which falls within parts, chef, waiters, which fall within people. Okay? Sometimes we eat and we are happy that we are in a restaurant because of the waiter. A waiter comes, throws a menu to you, you tell them, yeah, me, I don't want to read all this you are telling me to read. Do this. I want white meat, which could be fish, turkey, chicken. Advise me on what I can eat and I'll be happy. And the waiter tells you, let's have your turkey. It's only this, or salmon fish. It's only this amount and we'll prepare it this way. And when it comes and you take it, you say, wow, if I went through the menu, I don't think I'll have selected this. But now I'm a more satisfied customer because of the information shared by the waiter. Then the environment. College, university, we have high school graduates. At the end, we have educated individuals. We have teachers. lecturers. These are people. What is their primary role in their transformation? Sharing knowledge. You can call it sharing. You can call it imparting knowledge. I like using the word sharing because it's not me who has the knowledge alone. Some of you are very experienced who can also share the aspects of their careers, and that also, I just become a sort of a facilitator, and I help you learn also from other students. And that is also quite enriching, okay? And then you have the lecture halls which fall within plans, because you need where you can be ranged, you can sit together, you can do an exam of 100. Like tomorrow I'm doing a class of 300, which is regular. I'm doing it in New Lecture Theatre, 300 students. Can you imagine without a lecture? How do you teach 300? That is a physical class at Kabeta. Then books fall within parts. Automobile factory, where we make maybe things like aeroplanes or cars, or name them. Then sheets of steel, engine parts. That is the primary inputs, which could be component parts. And we have tools, we have equipment, we have workers, high quality cars is the output. For an airline, travelers who want to go is the primary input. The typical desired output at the end is on time, safe delivery to destination. However, we have resources we use. Airplanes fall within plants because they are very expensive infrastructure which are used during the value addition process. And we have crew, which are people. They will be able to show you where to sit, where to simply put your luggage. They serve you meals so that when you are traveling, you're not hungry, etc. Scheduling, ticketing processes are actually the systems, processes of value addition, where you can book a seat and get a ticket. So that is, in summary, what I can actually say in terms of the example. So I'm simply saying that processes like the ones we have gone through, they have different characteristics, but they are similar in many ways. For example, I'm just saying, if you take typical universities, theirs is just a teaching process. But that particular teaching process of University of Nairobi and Mount Kenya University and the KEMU, etc., teaching process has a lot of similarity. However, the processes of the two universities, the processes of the two hospitals or three hospitals, if you compare Nairobi Hospital and another hospital, you know these other hospitals where when you go visiting a patient, a scary comes saying, out, 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 out. And when you are in places like Nairobi Hospital, Avenue, Aga Khan, UTC, some of these other places, you live at your own pleasure. So they are hospitals at the end of the day. But we are saying they are particularly different on a number of ways. Particularly different in a number of ways. One, volume of the output. And I'm simply saying, let me use the classic case of universities. Some of them, a lot of students, others, not many students, or all banks, where Grace and Kamban are. Some of the banks, like our first bank in Kenya, KCB Bank, many customers. And the next in command, Cooperative Bank, many. Then where you are a member, Equity, many. And other banks like Citibank, a big bank Zurich, not many customers. By choice, by design, not because they are not able to have a lot of customers. They are all banks. They differ also in number two, variety of the output. You go to a bank and you find this bank has a lot of products, several 10 different types of bank accounts, 20 types of loans, GNUE, agriculture, holiday, Name them, all manner of accounts. Then all manner of loans. Others, very few accounts, maybe salary account, corporate account, and then classified into saving current. Kisha maneno. Universities the same, many programs, many specializations. You go to another university, they tell you, as we only have 10 degree programs. University of Nairobi, we have so many. Then you are doing BCom, somebody says, as we only offer 3 specializations: marketing, operations, and finance, stroke accounting, 3. University of Nairobi, many specializations, close to, I think, 8. Variation in the demand for their output, number 3. Some of the processes, like if you go to Citibank in Upper Hill, you may discover the clientele is almost constant. The fluctuation is plus or minus 5 on average. When you go to our bank, KCB, you find on a Monday, a lot of customers. Tomorrow, Tuesday, very few customers. Wednesday, because we have been paid so many, because now money is in the bank. Variation. This bank is on holiday because they can easily plan. Their number of customers is static. So say, if you have 3 tellers, the queue will never build up. The other bank, today we have 10 tellers. Then queues are building up. Then we say tomorrow let's do 15 cashiers. Then nobody comes. Now, how do we compensate these many cashiers, which we program to serve us today or tomorrow on the basis of history, which sometimes may not repeat itself? Look at that. I'm trying to create this because these are normal operating conditions in businesses. And so from an operation standpoint, how do you manage a business which has high variability of customers? Today there are many, tomorrow they are not there. When you reduce the number of staff to be able to manage expenditure, then customers come in a big way and they are complaining that they'll never give you a business because you are unable to serve them. Then when you put in a lot of servers, then the customers don't come. Then you are paying a lot of money for nothing when you are not making money. Think about it. This happens in business, okay? And lastly, the degree of feasibility which customers have of the production of the product or service. You're not seeing me. I put on my video the first time I was doing a lecture, and I said that we put off video because when you have a lot of connections, then some of us, depending on where you are in terms of internet connectivity, your signals get weak because of videos when people put on videos. So we put off videos to be able to have quality signals for everybody, wherever you are. So I can do a lecture, you are not seeing me. Tell me whether you can be done massage by somebody you are not seeing. Or we can do it this way. We can say, there will be a situation where you see a doctor without visiting them in their consultation room. And other situations where you see a doctor in their room. And this is going to happen. So I get online and I consult a doctor. The doctor says, consultation is only 1,000 bob. In America, lawyers have sort of put a lot of their services online. When you go to see the doctor physically, because the doctor has to drive to Upper Hill to see you, Upper Hill Medical Center, consultation is 5,000. Because there's no visibility. When there's no visibility, the doctor can decide when to see you, when he doesn't have a lot of work, and he can actually charge you less. When he has to drive, the charges increase. Quickly, in the next slide, we are saying this. All 4 dimensions we have discussed in terms of the V's, okay? Get back to that. The first V, volume. The second one, variety. The third one, variation. The fourth one, feasibility. these four, we are saying, have implications for cost of creating products or services. We are saying, way forward, online learning is expected to be more affordable type of learning because the students are not using any class, no security checks. So the number of security guards reduced at the university. The cleaning of lecture halls reduced, detergents reduced in washrooms, amount of water reduces, library space, name it. Visibility, because the visibility is low. Then the cost implications, the lecturers, like now, I don't know, but I know the direction the university is taking. It's only because of the business of blended class. But if we go online fully, other than the examination, and you hear the management of the school say, or the faculty say, Mr. Mulwa, why don't then you do, when you do your Monday online class, know that you are doing Nairobi day, Nairobi evening, Mombasa, Eldoret, Kisumu, and any international student who is doing this particular, wherever they are, China, Cameroon, etc. So what does that mean? It's going to be cheap for the university. I also don't have to travel to the office. So they will also tell me, but Mwalimu, you know, once we facilitate you with bundles, then why should we pay you mileage? So it's going to affect people quite a lot. But again, I will also gain the other way because it means I can also do a lot of many other things. I don't have to be physically present at the university. So I can be doing other things during the day. Then at 5, I get into my class from wherever I am, even if I'm doing consultancy. Like I remember the last time I was doing my class, I was actually handling Kirinyaga County staff. So I actually did the class away from, and I was actually the main facilitator during that particular day. I was dealing with the Kirinyaga County government staff. So I do Kirinyaga County during the day. At around 5, I'm already free. I do my class. Tomorrow I continue with another session. So two-way, you'll be able to benefit. So high volume, low variety, low variation, low customer contact all help to keep down processing costs. So what are you saying from an operation standpoint? If you want to be cheap, like charge less ledger fees, have a lot of customers like ACB Bank, have a lot of students like University of Nairobi. I know you're about to tell me, but Mwalimu, you increased your fees. Now, let's leave that story for another day. I'm saying University of Nairobi has the highest number of students in the country. You can be sure of that. Low variety, because variety means more staff specialized. Like an hospital, which says we deal with maybe things to do with, you call them gynecologists, you need gynecologists, pediatricians, you need orthopedic surgeons, all those services. What does that mean? It means you have to employ subject discipline specialists in all those areas, whether it is teaching at the university, whether it is treating at the hospital. And so the more we train in terms of specialized doctors at medical school in our university, the more specialized lecturers we employ, the more cost to the institution. So if you reduce the variety, you reduce the cost. Low variation. If you can be sure you are expecting 100 customers in a restaurant, then your planning can be quite easy and cost effective. But you plan for 100, they come to 100. What will happen? Either you had a lot of staff expecting a lot, then the number comes down. What will happen to your collections vis-a-vis your cost? Low customer contact, if customers are far, there's no feasibility, that will also make your cost come down. And then on the contrary, When the volume is small, you're handling a very small number of patients, you have a high variety of services, high variation, and high customer contact. You want every customer to see you in person, face to face. The cost of doing business is quite high. And you have to load this to the customer pricing model. And that makes your output from the process of production more expensive. So you need to understand why some tires of high-end cars are expensive. Not because they are very superior than the tires you use. But the difference is very simple. If you are producing tires for that model, which is only driven by a few people in Kenya, so the person will only import one container. When you are importing 20, 30 containers of these other tires, and therefore the plant is set to be cheaper when it is producing for the low end. And so I want to probably then call it a day at this particular slide, current issues in OM. Remember, I had a target today to meet. I wanted to finish the business of value addition, the concept of value addition, so that these others now just become things I'll use to put the course into perspective in my next class. And as it is always my tradition, I want to probably invite you, if you have any question, any comment to make, any suggestion for the next 2 to 5 minutes, that is now your opportunity. Thank you. Humphrey Wainaina, go ahead.
It's not particularly regarding the next class. Okay, I've tried to contact you about this matter, but I've not been successful. So I happened to do your coursework and the CAT during a semester last year, but I did not succeed in doing the exams because I had issues. I had issues with my portal, so I failed to do the exam. So I was wondering if I have to redo the whole unit again or just the exam.
What you do, I'll be in the office tomorrow, so you can send me a mail. Then I'll check your coursework. If the coursework is there, you will not need to do the entire unit. You only need to register for a special exam, and so do the exam only.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Somebody else? Mohammed, Omar?
Yes, Mwalimu, good evening.
Good evening.
I will have requested the notes of the previous lectures. I had an issue, so this is my first class.
Okay, Edwin, you can confirm. I think I only sent the course outline. Confirm that, so that if that is the case, then I send you the presentation after this class.
Thank you.
Yes, you only shared the course outline.
Okay. I will then send you the presentation. I think I'll use your WhatsApp account.
Okay.
Great. Somebody else? Virginia? Virginia, either you are muted or you are not hearing me.
I was muted.